Hey, Gemini. Before we get into your Aquarius season reading, February reading, all information to work with me is below, one-on-one, as well as the second part, more like an extended to this reading, where we go into even more depth into the cards, and I'm telling you, they're just getting better and better. They can range anywhere from, 8 minutes to 20, depending on the kind of information that seems to be needed. In case you were wondering, let's get started. Valentine's Day mug. Okay. So, first card out. You're coming out of a time where you felt it was kind of like slumber. I'm not saying you haven't been doing anything. I'm not saying that you've been overly resting. That's not what I'm saying. We'll use the bottom of the deck, the Hangman, to describe this. You've been in a state of unknown and uncertainty about things that normally you're certain about. You know that after the past 2 years, things are changing, and you've changed, and things have maybe felt a little even confusing at times. Now it's becoming clearer and clearer to you. This relates to the Hangman too, which is interesting. Clearer and clearer to you that you've needed to have some patience with some things, or you've needed to have this time to realize that even though what you've done and what you will, continue to do personally, but also anything that really you have succeeded with emotionally, like any kinds of whatever ways in which, you're filling your cup. The ways that used to work don't seem to be working. That's why this cloud is coming down to hand this to you. And you don't have to worry about it. You know that in your own way and in your own time, in its own time, it will work its way out. And this time seems to be now. This time that you realize that you've been waiting, regardless of any external pressures, including the ones you can put on yourself sometimes. Just want to make sure that was even. I have a thing for it. And what's interesting too, the Hangman is in the shape of a 4, the 4 of Cups right after, right? And it's a 7 card, so that doesn't really matter. The most important thing right now is to keep your confidence high, to keep your head held high, your heart forward, your head right on top of your heart, as we would stack you up in a yoga class. You understand that what you're looking for, what you're coming into contact with, isn't from the past. It's not anything that it used to be. It's something different. It's something to do with really securing. These cards are facing each other, which I should show you, and you'll see when we look at the second part, when we take a look deeper, you'll see that this true depth of connection between your stability, your emotional stability. Not that you are an emotional person. That's not what I'm saying. Air signs process way differently than everybody else. And this month it will help you to process things. And most people have a little bit more of a difficult time until our adjustment period, but air signs really understand it, and I hope that you're getting some relief this season, at least for the time being, until Mercury goes into Aquarius on the 11th, at least anyway. What you can uncover from you facing this fear of being unstable emotionally, or not having this confidence that locks you in at certain times, let's just say that that's where certain people miss the mark. You have needed these things, these moments. And now I think you're meeting this part of yourself where, not that you overly care what people think, that's not what I'm saying. So don't rearrange this when I start to say. It's more just that you've had ideas or too much thinking in the mind about certain aspects, certain people, certain situations. And when you don't have concrete answers, that can get very cloudy, muddled, and it doesn't feel very good on the body. I think that's why a lot of people will almost enforce this positive, overly positive way of being because it feels so good on the body when you are just a little bit more positive to yourself, right? But at times you need to let other things out because that's actually helpful for the body as well. So all of that to say that you are, this energy isn't to be wasted. It's to be utilized. It's to understand that even if you had that certain kind of thought process or that kind of idea of how the way things work, or you were very sure of that idea that that's how the way things work all the time, or if you're sure of something that has worked up until now, that is working but not in the way it could be. I think a part of you is becoming a lot more innovative of how you even structure your thoughts because of Mars and Gemini. You're seeing everyone around you. You may be like noticing a lot of people around you starting to realize the impact of Mars and Gemini, and more after Mars moves into Cancer. What you can be sure of right now is how much you believe in yourself. But without this obscured view that everything's always okay, right? So you need that realistic balance. And I also think you might stumble across someone who can be very helpful with that this month. Someone that you can confide in, another ace. Someone that you can confide in. Someone who will be there and understanding and a stable source of this understanding for you. Sorry, I've just been messing with this. And I think what you can come to acknowledge about it is that sometimes our aspirations or ideas that haven't been as well thought out can appear to have more power than they do. And of course, when something new, and that relates also to like when something new happens, it has sometimes a more power over you, or someone that you connect with really quickly. Sometimes it's trauma bonding, sometimes it's not, right? So this month is really clarifying and wants to help you clarify where these lines need to be drawn, where then that creating from that place, or visualizing from that place, or working from that place, or loving from that place, whether it's about your personal life or your career or your even love. Like, this is, I think, a very general reading when I say that it's going to become very clear to you if the next idea you really put into play. It's important to not have any crazy ties with, there just needs to be a clearing. That's it. That's all. There just needs to be a clearing. You need to give yourself space. You need to stop. You need to realize that, and meditation's been coming up for everybody, so highly recommend that. anything going on in your mind right now, don't let it have power over you. You can be the best at this, but you can also have these overthinking tendencies in this month. That's all, like, really what the air signs have to worry about, is these overthinking tendencies that we can have. Other signs do so too, but us more so when we travel down a road. So my suggestion to you is, if you're not someone who typically delves into philosophy or delves into higher mindset, to just have a conversation with it. Maybe read a line of someone you've heard of. Maybe listen to something, a lecture from Ellen Watts on YouTube, which is one of my favorite things to do. Maybe you start studying or just pick up a book on some kind of philosophy that makes sense to you or that you've been curious about. That can help with all of this, and even more than likely direct it. And the outcome is of the month is really just a celebration, or this overwhelming understanding of how amazing you are, and letting yourself feel that full effect before anyone else has an input, before anything outside of yourself has an input. It's a very spiritual time. I will add to this. We're gonna slow it down now, but it is a very spiritual time, and your feeling and your energy can take you a lot farther than most things right now. So a little abstract for you this month, Gemini, because I think this month isn't so much of a talking month. It's more of a action based. The talking happens with you, and only private matters only, trusted sources only. Don't bring anyone else in on your business unless you really trust them. And if there's 100 people you really trust, that's cool, but you might want to narrow it down unless you can get them in a group. Maybe some alone time, some processing. I think you'll feel a certain significant change in the twins aspect, okay? All right. As much as I'd like to hang more, all information to work with me is below, and as well as the next part of this. Haven't put a podcast in a while. That link will also be there. I will add another one that I have recorded a while ago, actually on the winter solstice. It cut off, but I think I'm still gonna put it out anyway. It doesn't matter. We'll see you next month.